Yes, hello. Good morning to you on the West Coast. Here is good evening from the Faroes. My name is Bogi Eliasen. I'm a political scientist. So I'm not a geneticist or a biologist or a statistician, but I work with the Faroe Genome project, FarGen, that I will take you through this journey, our thoughts on what we are working with. So we call this an holistic genomic health approach because this is going a bit broader than just sequencing itself. It goes a lot into what we want to use it for. First, picture overview of the Faroes. These are small islands in the North Atlantic. They are of a rough, hard nature and very steep mountains. So this is more to give you an idea on how life has been in ancient times for the last 1,000 years before we got modernity in the Faroes. So you get an impression of our small society in that way. Our proposal is to implement routine whole genome sequencing in healthcare. And our society, the Faroe Islands, has 50,000 people, is very small. But we also want to have this cornerstone for individualized healthcare and on the future work on the prevention part, the treatment, the cost effectiveness, and the implementation part. And it's also a way to provide this national and international research foundation. We believe there is a great value in the research we can do in the Faroes, which I will come in to explain later on. And we believe we will work with the genomic healthcare model that's, of course, based in our national model, but also has a global compatibility, so we can work with. So what we are doing first is a pilot study to explore this critical scientific, technical, ethical, legal, and social aspects. And then, of course, we need to create this infrastructure for long-term management and maintenance and evolution of the system. This is another picture view of the Faroes. If you can look at these two small villages, until 50, 60, 70 years ago, you wouldn't have a road in between villages, and every village would be a micro-society in itself. So that's just in order to give you an idea on even that you have a micro-society in the Faroes, you would still have a lot of micro-societies inside the Faroes because every village was its own society in its way. So where are the Faroes? You can see them here in between Iceland, Norway, and Scotland. I think they're drawn a fair amount bigger than they are in reality on this picture. But this is in the middle of the North Atlantic, so we are far away from the closest neighbors, and we live in a rough high North Sea. So what is FarGen in brief? A genome sequence of every Faroese who wants to store the data electronically in our electronic health records or in our system. If there is to be done research in it, we will follow the current procedures with permissions from ethical scientific committee, data authority, and informed consent, and we also need to have an agreement with our Genetic Biobank in order to do that. In the health system, a doctor requires a specific information from the genome which is looked at, but then it has to be required with a necessary look at it in a medical form. We have a prototype proposed workflow where we have the blood sample, we have the whole genome sequence, and then we have stored it so it can be linked to the other data, which I will explain later on, that we have in our system. And if you as an individual come into the medical system, the clinical responsible for this biobank can open or can on a request give some data, and you can do the run on the genome to have this question run. It's fairly equal that you would do with a blood test today, and then we have the follow-up with the teams on those parts. So it's not so different from as we see medical practice today. As I said before, in the research part, each research project needs approval, and the Genetic Biobank has the authority to identify disease groups in our diagnostic registry. And even if you give an informed consent to be part of the FarGen, to give your genome to the FarGen, you still have to be reconsented for a specific research project. And we have a big discussion on the incidental findings, as we do in the rest of the world, and there is a high focus on the right not to know, but also to the recommendation of the ACMG report that came earlier this year, I think. And here you can see two of the lead authors and me outside the Eagle, the pub where the Secret of Life, where Watson and Crick made their presentation on the DNA structure. So this was a celebration conference in April, I think, in Cambridge. So where is our motivation? It's a better healthcare. We live in a very small society which is far away from everything. So for us, it's really a struggle. Brain drain is a challenge all the time. So it's really a struggle to keep up with the standards that we can see in our neighboring countries. So we do really need to fight also to survive at the same level as our neighboring countries are doing. So better healthcare is one of the parameters that people are looking for, or the quality of healthcare. But we also think that we can participate in solving a global challenge to make genetic and genomic information usable in the clinical settings, and also to do research parts of it, to have it in the settings, because we believe we have a very good system for this. Normally we would see isolation and smallness as negative things, that we are far away and very isolated, and the country is very small. But in this case, it's a benefit, and it's also a society where we can see on polls that there's a high trust and also transparency in the system. We have, equal to the Nordic countries, we have a lot of data. We have a lot of health data, which is good for a project of this kind. And then, of course, we have one specific case with CDD, the carnitine transporter deficiency, which has caused a lot of attention the last years, where fairly young people could drop dead. But it's a genetic disease that's easy treatable with some carnitine supplement, which we work a lot with, and that has taken a lot of attention to the population on knowing more about your genetics in the people. And there is clearly a political wish to develop research competences and to keep knowledge in the Faroes, and to evolve the knowledge and develop the knowledge in the Faroes. To have a biotechnology cluster and job creation as a part of this project, and to see if this also can be a part of initiating a bio and health business. We already have a lot of bio knowledge, as fishery and aquaculture is our main income, and for instance our salmon breeding is supposed to be the best in the world. So we have some really good qualities on this area. We're not just starting on without anything. The picture you can see is the governmental office of the Prime Minister, and just in front of that is supposed to be the oldest parliamentary sites in the world, which the old Althing met in ancient times. And one of the things that is also a part of a project like this is being forced with using these genomic things. So going back a bit of the history, the picture here you can see the main hospital in the Faroes, in Tórshavn in the Faroes. So initiation, Decode in '98 came to the Faroes with an approach to have a cooperation, to join forces to work with both the Icelandic and the Faroese population, but for several reasons that didn't really wasn't really realized in anything. But it caused a huge debate in the Faroes, an ethical debate on the use and if genomics and genetics should be used in the Faroes. And that discussion was very hard, very rough, and lasted for, yes, 6, 7, 8 years, in a way from 98 to almost 2006, or some part of it. But suddenly in 2005, or a little bit before, there began a work with a political wish to have a Biobank Act, to actually have a law frame on the biobank. And in 2005 it was passed in the Parliament, with, as far as I remember, full agreement. And it paved the path to have a genetic biobank started, and this biobank started slowly in 2006. In 2007, we had the first research project inside these frames, inside the Biobank and inside the Biobank Act's frames, starting slowly. And 2008, we started slowly with a feasibility study of larger genomic projects in the Faroes. And from 2009, it became the FarGen idea and then developing the concept of the initiation of this project. Today it's a part of the Department of Research and Development and the Ministry of Health, which I work for. So we can go back to the Biobank Act. We have used this purpose of the Act as our guidelines to work with. It says on the first paragraph that the point is that we have to protect the right of individuals in concern with human genetic research, to establish the parameters for and encourage research in the Faroe Islands into human genetics, and that such research might in the end advance competences and cure in the prevention of disease, advance competences within the Faroese national healthcare system, and to establish a consumer-made research environment in the Faroe Islands. So these are very good points, guidelines to have, which we have worked on with the political will in this part. So it's clearly also to develop the Faroese healthcare system in this part. So in the Faroese system, we have a genealogy register, we have some phenotypic information, we have tissue register, we have some pharma information, some path information, diagnosis registry, genotype. We have health science project, and we are now working with having the genomes in. And this is the research part of this is everything is very much organized by the Genetic Biobank. So we have a good framework in this, we believe. So what we think in this part is that we have an infrastructure which will be hosted by the Genetic Biobank, where we can have information going both to the health, to the clinical part, and to the research part. So this is both to develop knowledge for direct clinical use and to have improve a biobank with genomic research or with genomic information, so we can have a research part in it. And this is just a simple overview of ancestors. If you take 10 generations, which is probably in generally 300 years, you would have 1,024 ancestors in that part. If we then look at the Faroese population, there was a fairly stable population on between 3,000, 4,000 until the 1750, 1800. So you can see that there has not been many people around. So there is a lot or there's a very close familiarity in the Faroese system in that way. So to the implementation part, the picture here is of the Faroese Prime Minister, who also thinks very highly of this project. But we need to have the public health system. I should explain that the Faroese system is the whole system is one public health system. It's a very small society, very small country, 50,000 people. So we have one public health system. There are some few private actors on the islands in some areas of healthcare, but in general this is one public health system. Everything is inside one frame, and it's all digitalized today with digitalized information and files healthcare system in that way. So we have the Genetic Biobank inside this part, where we have to have the genomic data. We have the hospital system that has to be prepared and made ready to the usability of the data. Excuse me, I just need to close a door. Sorry, I'm back. It's the first time I've been closing a door during the presentation. And then we have the digital healthcare system, which we call the EHS in the Faroese, or EHR system. And we have the ethical, legal, and societal implication that we have to work with, the ELSI requirements that we have to take care of as well. I should say in that concern that by official international statistics, the Faroes has the lowest crime rate in the world, and is the most equal society in the GNI index. So we don't have this issue of we don't have a race issue in this form. We don't have issue of different classes and access to health care and health things. So that's a benefit when you work with an equal access to some new benefits in the healthcare. The political system has been sponsoring this project since it started, so they know about it. And of course, there are questions about how we should go and how fast and other things, but this has been inside the political frame since it started. And a big part of this is also to get the administrative system to take the different accounts on different areas. It's not all inside the health ministry. It's also different ministry that has and different agencies that have to be integrated into the system. And we have paid a lot of attention to education. We have worked with having genomics as a part of the curricula in the school from first grade through high school, and taking it from a bit of a different approach with having a case or 4 cases that we work with, putting more and more challenges to us as you go higher into the system. And instead of making one subject of genomics or genetics, we make cases applicable to mathematics, to chemistry, to biology, to history, also to religion or society. We have not finished with developing that part, but we hope that that's something we can roll out pretty soon. And I've also been in connection with our Ministry of Education in order to educate the teachers in using this material once we finish it. And there's a need for a buy-in from healthcare, and as in every healthcare systems around the world, most people can see the potential in genetics and genomics, but also that it needs some changes, and that's something to work with, to have the buy-in from the healthcare, even if we believe we have a reasonably good buy-in from that part. And we are also working a lot with the buy-in from the people, and that's an ongoing process. And I don't know if that ever stops, but it's about information and having contact with people and explaining the possibilities and also the concerns with genomics. We have a good cooperation also with our digital healthcare system, and this is This is very important because the future we see is not just that genomics is everything. It's very much a translational approach where we can put where we can have genomics as the baseline, but have many different relevant health information attached to this. And this also means that that the Western healthcare system are trying to find some solutions to that. The healthcare is becoming too expensive, and one part of that is to give back some of the knowledge back to the persons themselves. So people also would not be so much into hospital, but having treatment at home with information, and the genomic is playing a big part in that. So in this way, we won't have all data in one system. So the pilot is to implement a prototype workflow to have this monitoring of the scientific, technical, ethical, and societal impacts or implications. To work with the education and public awareness, to reach out to people in that way. To have a Faroese reference genome. And there are some options to go for some rare Mendelian conditions, cancers, to specific Faroese diseases. And this has also been a major concern because we have some specific Faroese concerns. I mentioned the CDD, and these are things that we need to work with ourselves in our society, because they are a big concern in our society, but not a big concern in most other societies. And we also really emphasize excuse me, to have a focus on that this is a health project. This is not about concerning people with disease. This is a lot about health, and we have a very healthy population. Our newest numbers show that we are very high in the top on the expected living age. So we also want to have a focus on looking at why the Faroese are so healthy. And we hope that we, it says here 2013, but we go into the mid of 2014 to have 1,000 sequenced individuals in this part. And also to see if we can work with a public health tool where we can have some general information that is usable for the public health to as knowledge and a tool in that way, and to work with the outreach, which is both the public awareness but very much also education in that way. And of course, one of the things that we need to look at is that we don't always know which genetic origin is behind the phenotypic look as you see in this picture. And then I have this funny story that my wife is from Peru and is very much a Native American and Indian, Inca Indian from Peru. And we had this genographic test done of my two oldest kids that are 14 and 10 and us. And I had the 23andMe sequencing done as well. And even if I am 99.7% European according to the 23andMe, my kids are 41% Native American and 20% Mediterranean and 10 to 12% Southeast Asian. So in that battle between me and my wife on having the genetic footprint on our kids, I think I lost a bit, but I know this is not very scientifically. This is just more fun to see how we can use this on origin of our kids. We have worked a lot with education. We have had two EBI roadshows in the Faroes. We had this in November 2012, and in 2013 we also had a bioinformatic for doctors for research and clinic in cooperation with EBI and Illumina. And this is a very good start on having people who work in the health sector and also in the research to get more knowledge about the usability of genomics in this way. And as you can see, there are a lot of happy people of gaining this knowledge. This is something that we will work repeatedly to have in this part. There has been a lot of questions on when is it suitable to think more clearly about genomics, but I think the future is here. And as you can see on the nature part there, break last when ready, your life is in your hand. And I think that part should be now, that we have so much knowledge and it's so you can use things, and we already see people working with things now. So we should be already thinking about how we can integrate this into a healthcare in a positive way. One task that I have missed a bit out on is attention in the media, because actually I was not supposed to get so much attention in the media, and we didn't really have a PR plan on that way, but we have been a lot in the news anyway, both locally but also internationally, and that's a part that comes with a project like this, I think, and we have been a bit overwhelmed with the interest for the project, but we also believe that we have a approach that we can work very good with. So how do we see steps in this way? I think the first step is a public health approach where we have some Faroese aggregated knowledge. We work with this part of the 1,000 genomes. We do the Faroese reference genome, so we have some local knowledge, and we can use our genealogy records. We have genealogy records 200 years back digitalized. We have fairly good genealogy records going back for almost 400 years from our parish registers and other sources, midwives registers as well. As far as I'm informed, we have this very good system that midwives only got paid for delivery that where the kid was alive, so they have written it very carefully down, so they got paid. So we have good references from there, good written records. But the Faroese reference genome, we can actually make it quite precisely with using our digital genealogy records in that way. So we can have a very good reference genome for the Faroese data, both for research and for the clinical part. And then we think that we need to approach a specific Faroese disease question in this way to get more knowledge and see if we can have a better treatment as well. And then we can begin to work with an integration of the healthcare routine whole genome sequencing in that way. From there, I think we can slowly begin to develop our use of clinical diagnostic in our system. And afterwards, we will begin with the tailored treatment, which some people would call them personalized way to it. But this is still more individualized in the tailored treatment part. And from there we go to the precision medicine, which I see as where you not only use the genomic data, but you have a merging of data sources to practice this precision medicine in this way, still with the genomic as the baseline. And from there we can begin to think about personalized healthcare, because we have enough data that we can individualize in the care in that way. But to make this work, we also need to empower the citizen to take responsibility, understood that they also would need to be a part of this knowledge and to take decision on things, especially in the preventive part of it. So this in the sixth step will be both a personalized preventive approach and a societal preventive approach, where we can look at a more societal part of it and have some tools to work with in a health policy way. We have decided to have a FarGen yearly FarGen Summit conference. We have this next one. We had one last year in September, and then the next one we have now the 19th and 20th of September. So where we want to have a presentation of the status of what we have achieved the last year. We also hope that we can have a conference for isolates where we can have that subject every year as a part of it, and use this as a connection between researchers, health agencies, and companies worldwide. And of course, this is a very good networking for researchers and bio and health business and healthcare in a way, and to have some cutting-edge topics on it. So what do we hope as an outcome in this? We have this Biobank access for health and for research, and there might be some businesses that would want to have access to this as well, to develop some things from this knowledge. The bioinformatics, which is a crucial part in order to make sense of all this genomic information. Maybe to have some targeted expertise for the global market. That could be that we make some expertise in maybe the Faroese diseases or some specific diseases, as well as we buy health services from the outside. We could develop some niches in the Faroes to deliver to other parts. And the health services are to the Faroese system and could be as well globally in this globalized world. And we need to have some software applications development, to have some service for health staff users, to have some service for citizens, to have a sequencing center which will basically be made for the Human Genome Project, but there is of course a great interest to sequence different kinds of things, and as our main economic source is fishery and agriculture, those parts of the industry are very interested in using these as well. These are some of the people we have had on working. I should have my acknowledgement. I will not name them all, but say that we have David Bentley, James Lubsky, Paul Fleechik, and Gillian McQueen, and also Richard Gibbs in our certificate advisory board. In that way, this has been a long process of developing of a lot of ideas, so there are many people who have been participating, knowing and not knowing in our concept. I really like to use this cartoon that, as it says, man only began to evolve after he started to cut corners. But I think we are somewhere where this is getting applicable and usable with the knowledge of genomics. And I will just end with saying that you can visit the fargen.fo/summit to see the conference that we are having. So with that, I will thank you for your attention and for your patience to listen. For some of you early, for some of you late. And if you have any question, please just send me the questions. So there are no questions coming in, so but I could tell you if you would like to visit our conference as well, you should look at it's not the easiest place to come to the Faroes, but it's easy to fly through Copenhagen, so you could come and see this beautiful landscape and have some knowledge. So now I had a question here. Well, it was more a statement that it was very interesting. Thank you. I think really like that you got something out of it. And I have a question on the cost. Well, I guess if you have been following the genomic the last years, you will always see the cost curve that the output is going extremely much up and the cost is going extremely much down. So that's something we have into our equation. But our first phase of doing the 1000 and with that setup, that cost would be around one point or around two. How much would that be in $2 million with the first phase, which is not so much. I have another question on the genome sequencing. And that the analysis would be a huge burden. Yes, there is a huge burden on the analysis, but what we are working with on this part is also developing areas in order to work with these parts. And now I have a question on the future research consent. No, I think I had it in one slide. That you would be consented for being a part of this biobank, but you needed to be reconsented for the specific research projects. Yes. Are there more questions? I have a question on incidental findings. Actually, we have, when we started this project, the mainstream idea was to give all information back. We have actually worked very much with a model on not giving information back, telling people that to participate in this, it will be a part of developing research, but that you would have the right to have your genomic information included in future healthcare. There is a second question here on, is the government going to take care of the counseling? I will combine these answers. Our system is a public system, so this counseling is also a part of this. So the counseling needs to be a part of it, and when you as a public system do deliver genetic results back in a clinical setting, you need to give counseling back as well. Those are the rules on the area. So there are still times for some more questions. Okay, I would like to thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any more questions, feel free to send me an email on bogi at health.fo. I think you could probably find my information on the webpage here as well. Or you can look at our webpage at www.fargen.fo. And thank you very much for your attention.